And we talked about Einstein for that afternoon.
So I'm active on a little active. I'll not say too active on Twitter on some of the accounts where they keep talking about books and all. There, I got to know this book.
So you're so popular.
Okay.
Oh, you.
So Bhavna, it is 3 minutes past. Shall we begin?
Yeah, ma'am. We can start. Ajay, is it live stream?
Yeah, it's live now. We can start.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you want to start?
Yeah. Okay, ma'am.
हम बहुत ही कम लोग हैं कितने 14 लोग हैं
15 लोग हैं. That's enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay. Hello, namaste, and good evening, and a very warm welcome to every one of you. Myself, Bhavna Yadav, and on behalf of ASMITI Academy, I welcome you all to our first session of ASMITI Dialogue. And this is our privilege that for this ASMITI Dialogue program, for our first session, we have two esteemed personalities who will be taking forward this ASMITI Dialogue. Before moving forward, let me first thank Nivedita Haran ma'am for accepting our request to host the show. I'm very honored that she very humbly accepted it. Before moving forward into the details of the topic and introduction of our esteemed guest, let me introduce Nivedita Haran ma'am very quickly. She has a PhD in Humanities and Social Science from IIT Delhi. She is retired as the Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Home Affairs, Government of Kerala. Having worked as the District Magistrate, Revenue Secretary, and Home Secretary, she has a very strong background in administrative functions. Dr. Haran currently serves as the Honorary Chairperson of the Board of Directors of Center for Migration and Inclusive Development. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting the request. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, moving forward, I feel really privileged in introducing one of the celebrated physicists of our country, Dr. Ajoy Ghatak. Dr. Ghatak received his Master of Science in Physics from Delhi University and PhD in Engineering Physics from the Department of Physics, Cornell University, New York. Dr. Ghatak has written over 170 research papers and authored more than 20 books. His books act as a treasure to undergraduate students and has been referred to as textbooks in Delhi University. He received numerous prestigious awards, including Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize in 1979 for his outstanding contribution in physics. He has contributed profoundly in area of quantum mechanics, photonics, optics, not only in India, but overseas. He is a source of inspiration for many decades for young physicists and to our young generation. His book is translated in many languages, which includes Chinese, Russian, and Persian. Sir, we are very honored to have you here, and we are very eager to listen you in person. Ma'am, I request you to take it forward.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you
Over to
very
you,
much. Thank you very much. Welcome to all of you and a very good evening. Shri Ajay Ghatak was Professor of Physics in IIT Delhi for decades. He's a world-renowned scientist who remains at the top in his field. 20 plus years after retirement, he continues to teach and is furiously active in his intellectual pursuits. The last 2 years were difficult, as for all of us, but with practice, he now is adept at holding online classes and conducts many webinars almost every week. He is the president of the Indian Academy of Sciences and wears many other hats. He also happens to be my mama. We wish to spend the afternoon hearing from Professor Ghatak about his journey, his childhood years, who and what were his inspirations, who were and are his role models. I shall ask the questions. as his niece, and as a fan. We and our generation looked upon him as a role model in the family. So I love this opportunity that Asmiti has given us to hear from it all, to hear about it all in Professor Ghatak's words. I think his words will be of immense interest to his students and future students, not only in the natural sciences, but all students and anyone who is in search of knowledge. So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Major Mama, Professor Ghatak. First of all, thanks a million for agreeing to have this conversation. You don't know how excited I am about it. And with your permission, I'm going to address you as Major Mama. And you may please call me Bulbul because that's how I'm known in my family. So let's begin. I shall start with a very predictable question. Tell me, when did you first realize your love for physics? You know, it's physics and you are almost synonymous. So was it a moment or was it spread over many years? Was it a person who inspired you or an incident? Tell us a little about that background. Major Ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Bulbul. Thank you, Nivedita. Thank you, Asmiti Academy, for inviting me. It is, as I grow older, I'm now 82. As I grow older, I find it more and more interesting and enjoyable to spend time with the younger generation. And so therefore, it is really a great pleasure to have discussions with you, with Ajay, with Bhavna and others. So I'm very happy to be here and share with all of you my thoughts. And when did I get interested in physics? Let me give you a bit about myself. I was born in Lucknow, and the first 3 years apparently I had spent in Calcutta. My father was working there. My father did his DSc, Doctorate of Science, from University of Allahabad, and he was really very good in his subject. And seeing him, I was always motivated to do science. And then 1942 to 46, we were in Delhi. My father was associated with the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. And in 1946, my father got a job offer in Agra, the city of Taj Mahal. And we were there in September 1946, and we spent about 17 years there. And during that time, as you know, India got independence in 1947. I still remember that day because on that particular day, when we were in Agra, we had a theft in our house. So I distinctly remember the events that took place on 15th August 1947. It was otherwise the celebrations were very low key, but I remember those events. So in 1947, actually, I was studying in an English medium school, and everyone said that everything is going to be taught in Hindi. So my father took me out of the school in December, and I learned Hindi at home. And then in July 1948, I was admitted to a Hindi medium school, and that continued. And during those days, my school days, we had a very good physics teacher. So I never thought about what I will be doing. During those days, you do high school, then intermediate, then BSc, and then MSc or something like that. But I actually wanted to do mathematics, but eventually somehow I got the impression that there are not many jobs available in mathematics. Physics has a much broader space, and you have atomic energy, nuclear energy, and everything. So I decided to do physics. So I did my BSc from Agra College. It used to be a great institution at that time, and I had very good, very affectionate teachers. Then my father said that you do your MSc from Delhi University. So I just applied and I got admission. Admission now has become extremely difficult, but during those days they were not that difficult. You have to have a first division, and you ended up getting admission. So I got admitted, and there I had teachers like Professor Daulat Singh Kothari, DS Kothari, and who eventually became the chairman of the University Grants Commission, an outstanding physicist and an outstanding human being, almost a Gandhian, almost a Gandhian. His simplicity was amazing. And so was Professor R.C. Majumdar, and so were other teachers. So they were my role models. When I saw them, when I heard them, I thought that I would like to become like them, teach. And so that's how, and after my MSc, I went abroad to do my PhD. And that's how I got interested in physics. And because I developed so much of respect for my professors at Delhi University, and also my teachers at school and college, and they were great human beings. And so that is the...
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, but tell me then, what are the qualities that are required? Because I'm sure there are youngsters who are listening to you or will be listening to this conversation of ours. What are the qualities required to become a scientist or a science student, let's say? You know, this in India, we have this madness that a good student should always take up science. Do you think that's a good thing? Or is it that one should have some kind of a tendency for it to become a scientist? And I don't mean just natural science. I mean a social scientist or an experimental or a field scientist, to have that scientific temper. Do you think it's necessary for every child to develop that? Or do you think it's something that we are born with?
Nivedita, it is, in my opinion, something like this. I am reminded of a very famous quotation. Most of you may have heard this. The father telling the son that get yourself a job which you enjoy, then you will not have to work for the rest of your life. So finding out which field you are motivated to learn, in which you can excel. That's it. Today, with all the competitions, it has become slightly difficult. Nevertheless, how interested and motivated you are in learning physics. Now, even at this age, whenever I see a book or get notifications on the internet, it's a pleasure to read through new contributions, new way of understanding physics or quantum theory and things like that. So with the internet now available, you get a wide spectrum of information at all levels. And you have to ask yourself that what interests you most, what you enjoy reading. And if you enjoy doing mathematics or physics or chemistry, then pursue that. There are opportunities. Sometimes it is difficult to get to the right college, to the best college in your area. But today, with the explosion of the information technology, today, if you want to hear on relativity or on quantum theory or on mathematics, you just go to YouTube and press, I want to listen to Feynman lectures. You can hear lectures by even Einstein, even Feynman, and all great people. And so even if you do not get the opportunity to get to a very good, let us suppose you want to go to St. Stephen's College, which is supposed to be #1 college, or Miranda College, and you do not get the admission. Let us suppose you get admission to a slightly lower ranking college. It does not matter. It does not matter, because you can learn this subject today on your own. Even in IITs, we have created this huge NPTEL base, NPTEL lectures on a variety of subjects, on even at the school level. And people can just log in. You just require today a good internet, and then the whole world is in front of you. So you have to inculcate that interest in yourself by studying that subject. It is like music. Let us suppose you are good in music, you are interested in music, but then you have to work very hard for it to excel in that area. It is just simple as that. So my advice to the younger generation would be that find yourself, try to think. You have to read a large number of subjects when you are in school, say 11th or 12th. So at that time, you are fairly senior, 17, 16, 17 years old. And then you find yourself, do you enjoy doing mathematics? Do you enjoy doing physics? Or do you enjoy listening to music or singing or something like that? And then pursue with that subject with the best of your ability, and work extremely hard. Because if you work in an area which you enjoy, then there is no end to that.
And that's not work, isn't it?
That's not work.
Yeah.
That's not work.
Yeah. So tell me, you did your higher studies at Cornell, yet you chose to come back. You were one of those persons who was mentioned as the person who came back, the student, the brilliant student who came back. And you came back and sought employment in India.
Yes.
And this is a question I am asking, keeping our teachers in mind. What is that added component in the centers of higher learning in the US or in Europe, for instance, which perhaps we could do with in India? Is there something, some way we could help improve? I'm not saying it is in any way less, but we could improve the level of our teaching, the ecosystem in our education, so that the kind of education that a child goes in search of to the US or even now to Ukraine, that student can find in India. What would you think are those important factors?
You have raised a very important question, a series of issues. Number one, when I came back, 80% of the students would go for higher studies and would come back. In my class, there were about, out of 28, I think 12 of us went abroad. And I would say 8 or 9 of them came back. And sometimes we came back as a pool officer, which is a temporary assignment. And we took some time to get a job. At that time, the love for the country was so deep that really, Nivedita, it is true that I could not think that I could ever live. Now I can think like that. But at that time, the love, because we had just got the freedom and people were working, and I had thought, and my work was going so well that people, when I was doing my postdoctoral fellowship, they said that, why do you want to go back? And I said, no, I have to go back. And I was also homesick. And I thought that whatever I do, I will do it for my country and for myself. I came back for myself. But in the process, I will be in India. This is a very strong feeling of nationalism that we all had. And my father briefly was also associated with the freedom movement. And very briefly. And so you see, those stories I had heard, and I had seen people like Jawaharlal Nehru, and I had seen Mahatma Gandhi also from a distance, listening to his talk in 1946. I remember that. And when I was in Delhi. But the most important point that you have raised is that in America, I found people extremely polite and treating students as their friends. We have, in spite of being a teacher myself, I feel that that level of affection towards the students is not there in India. We do not treat uh, my granddaughter, my nephew's daughter, went to do mathematics honors in Johns Hopkins University, and in first year, second semester, she did so well. The professor asked her to become a teaching assistant. This kind of, and she was overwhelmed. She would be teaching the first year students, being in first year. And I remember, you see, when I was leaving America, the director of my laboratory came to my office and said that, Ajoy, why do you want to go back? You stay here. I had no research papers with him, but my work was going on extremely well. And he thought that I was a good person. Will any vice chancellor go to an assistant professor's room and say that you do not go, why are you leaving our institution? It is something like this. Hans Bethe was a Nobel laureate, and the story goes like this, that Hans Bethe, this is very important. Hans Bethe was professor of physics at Cornell University. He became a Nobel laureate, but he was a very respected physicist. So we had this story going on that if he decides to leave Cornell, then the president of the university will be sacked. You see this, that I had heard these stories from professors that if he decides to leave, then you have not been able to create an atmosphere in your university so that an outstanding person can stay. So therefore you are incapable of leading. Now we have to have that kind of an atmosphere we have to appoint people not only with integrity, but vision, leadership, and affection, who can make others grow. This is very important. This is still not happening in India, unfortunately. We have outstanding teachers, outstanding programs, outstanding courses, really. The type of courses, as you yourself know, in JNU or IITs or Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, they are top-rate courses. But there are few institutions where the accountability of the vice chancellor or the director, that I am talking about, that has to be integrated into the system. And the second point is, as I had mentioned to you once before also, we have, as Indians, have developed quite a bit of arrogance in our lives. This is true for students, for teachers, to police, to everyone. And that humility has to come in, has to be impregnated into the students. You look at the TV programs, interviews, and you compare, for example, the interview that are taking place with BBC and the interviews that are taking place in leading channel. I don't want to name them. They are all sort of pulling one down and so much of arrogance, even with the people who are interviewing people. So if you are trying to corner a person, then you leave a very bad image and with the younger generation. So we have to tell our younger generation that, and I tell that whenever even now when I have webinars, that all of us sitting there here are extremely fortunate. Be polite, have compassion for those people who do not have as much as I do. I get drifted. You had asked.
No, you're very right. And you know what I'm reminded of? I'm reminded of my Didu, my grandmother, who would always build you up as a role model. Not just as a good student, but as a person who was always so polite. You know, you were a role model in that sense, full of humility. And that is lacking these days. But tell me, you know, if it doesn't, I'm not going into the politics of it, who appoints these, the different authorities appointing these heads of the centers of higher learning. But I'm sure, I hope somebody is listening there. But do you think anything can be done by the common man to create an atmosphere where it becomes fashionable to show humility rather than be arrogant. You know, let humility bring glamour.
Yeah.
Why not? Why is it that we have to push and while standing in a queue? Why is it that we have to not help someone who's trying to cross the road? Can we not make that fashionable? I'm sure Bhavna and company and Ajay who are listening, let's work on that. Okay,
I would love to participate in that, but it so happens you have to start from the top. And what you see, you have to see. I have to, maybe someday I will be bold enough to talk to people on some TV channels and say that, look, why are you so arrogant and rude to this person? Why are you doing that? And to build up that strength, I must stand up and tell a senior administrative officer or politician or professors. You don't know. Getting into the director's room, even at IIT, is so difficult at one point of time. It has changed. It has changed. But there is an aura for him. And here in America, at least in the 60s, I would see that people. So what I would like to mention is that in Singapore, I was there for 1 year in National University of Singapore. At that time, they had a specific program at the school level to teach the younger kids to be polite. And it used to be on television also, and also in the school programs. And it is always, if you want to have discipline in your house, the top person, the father or the person who is the has to set the example. If he is arrogant and rude, everyone will become arrogant.
Yeah.
But if he is polite, and then he will not tolerate also impoliteness. And this is a very important aspect. And unfortunately, things are going from bad to worse. And I feel so sad about it. I really feel very sad about it. And it has percolated to the level, to even professors and teachers. Why can we not treat our students like our children? And vice versa. Children and students should also look upon their teachers as they're someone like a parent or something like that. They can depend on that. So that relationship has to come in, and we can all try. And if Bhavna, Ajay, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, and that's very important.
We have to inject this. That's very important. That's very important. That's very important, Nivedita.
So what you said, that it's important to have good role models. It's important to have good leaders who show by example. And it is also important to build the right kind of ambience in our universities and in our centers.
That is true.
So that
is true. These are the three things. You are absolutely right. And then what I have seen in America is the following. Some of our students who did very poorly, not very poorly, I mean, probably he got a second division, he had no chance there. Somehow their parents will have money and they will get admission. There they do extremely well. Not all, but sometimes they do exceptionally well. What has transformed? It is just making them comfortable, trying to find out what they are good at, and then they become almost indispensable there. I have seen myself with my own eyes, people that they're doing so well and earning the respect from their seniors, and therefore getting along well in life. And those people tend to stay there, and I don't blame them for that.
Yeah. Nijoma, yeah, I know. You said it all in the last 10 minutes. What can be done to improve our education system? Tell me, your textbooks on optics are on every physics student's desk, in every college library. I believe it is translated into many languages, including Russian and Chinese and all. Does that surprise you, or you think that I mean, even when you were writing it, you knew that this is the way that it appealed to students.
No, I will say the following. The first edition came out in 77. So that is about 50 years back, about 45 or whatever it is. So, and I have been teaching. So if you do any, I have realized this myself. If you teach someone, if you do anything with passion and you enjoy it, you produce a better song or a better manuscript and things like that. And since then, I've revised it 7 times. The book is now in the 7th edition. And in my opinion, it has come out now in its final shape. And so I kept on improving on that. That is the most important part, that nothing is final. Even a lecture, I've been teaching optics for the last 50 years. I've been teaching quantum mechanics for the last, even now when I give webinars on that, I change my slides, order of presentation in such a way so that students really appreciate what I am trying to say. So it is a continuous effort. It is a continuous effort. And I have enjoyed doing that. I never thought that the book will become very popular. And of all countries, maybe I'm a little embarrassed to say this, it has become a bestseller in China. The 6th edition. The 6th edition got translated in Chinese, and it has sold more copies in China than in India, because at that time, India, we are passing through this pandemic, and so that is very pleasing. And although we have little strained relationship with China, but I have very good relationship with the professor who translated the book. He has been in touch with me. He has come to India, and because of the book, and he invited me to China. So I did not, to be very frank, Nivedita, I never expected that it will be received so well, but it has. And that is primarily because of 3 effects. One, that I have been lucky. Second, that I have worked very hard for it, and I have enjoyed working very hard for it. That is the most important. And the more I work, the more enjoyment I get. And someone asked me the other day, do you think there will be an 8th edition? I said, I don't know. If something comes to my mind. I have the ability to, so I will tell the younger generation the following. I have the ability to put forward difficult things in a simple manner. And it gives me also a tremendous amount of pleasure in doing that. And when I do that, apart from money is necessary, is secondary. It gives me so much happiness, I cannot tell you. And when I convey a difficult concept and I see the bright eyes lit up of my students, then it gives a great pleasure. And what you want from your life, you want to be happy. It does not matter whether you have 100,000 rupees in your bank account or 1 crore in your bank account. Eventually, you want to be healthy. Of course, good health is necessary, and happy. And therefore, you take up a profession which makes you happy. That is my always advice to my children, my students, and that do something which makes you very happy.
I haven't read your textbooks, Mejumama, because I'm not a student of physics, but I've read your book on Einstein, and it's so highly readable. Why did you choose to write about Einstein? Tell me that. Why not about Newton? Why not somebody else's life?
Tomorrow is Einstein's birthday, 14th of March, and the Gujarat Academy is celebrating, and I will be, maybe I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link of tomorrow's lecture, where I will be speaking on Einstein's year of miracles. 1905 was Einstein's year of miracles, where in 1 year, sitting isolated in his Swiss patent office, he wrote 5 outstanding papers which changed the face of physics. And he was 26. And Newton has also contributed immensely, and he was another great physicist. But as I kept reading, I will tell you how it comes. My friend in America, one Vengu Lakshminarayan, and he gifted me 2 books on Einstein. One was one was his love letters, which were translated from German to English, and one was the Isaacson book on Einstein, and that fascinated me. That fascinated me. There was very little physics in it, and he had a very dual personality. He was, if you see his painting photographs or something, he has a saint-like appearance. But he was not a saint. He was not a saint. He treated his first wife very badly, and his 2 children. He had 2 sons from his first wife, and the younger son, Edward, was brilliant. People said that he would probably be the next Einstein, but then he would be always compared with his father. I don't know what happened, but he developed mental problems. In 1933, Einstein, with his second wife and his stepchildren, left for America to avoid Nazi Germany. But he did not bring his 2 sons from the first marriage. And listen to this carefully, that in 1933, he came to America. The World War started in 1939. It ended in 1945. And he died in 55. And his younger son was in a mental institution and was in tremendous agony, but he never visited him again. So his older son, according to a National Geographic article, had said that you are so polite and so kind to the cleaning woman, but why were you so cruel to us? So that was a very profound statement. And so he had this dual personality, in my opinion. And that fascinated me. On one side, he had in 1944, he had handwritten one of his 1905 papers. And it was auctioned. It was sold for $6 million in 1945. He did not keep a cent about it because America had helped so many immigrants. So he gave the entire money to the United States government. So he had no greed for money. He had led an extremely simple life. Of course, he was intellectually the person of the century. Time magazine declared him as the person of the century. But at the same time, if you see, he had many affairs, he had many women in his life, but that is besides the point. But did he treat his 2 sons well? There's a lot of debate even now going on. So it has a very, very dual kind of personality, dual kind of, that fascinated me. So I kept reading more and more. I got interested. Oh, let me tell the younger students something. I got interested in Einstein only after my retirement. In 2000. In 2001, I retired from IIT, and then my friend gave me a series of books. He gifted me, and I started reading them, and I sort of so much enjoyed them that I thought that I will write in my own perspective about Einstein and put in a little bit of more of physics in it, so that trying to bring back the concepts that are little difficult to understand, that without any equation, how to explain the results of those 5 papers. And then in his life, he wrote those papers, but he had great difficulty in getting the Nobel Prize. You think there is politics in India? As I always say, there is politics everywhere, even in the award of the Nobel Prize. That he made one paper after another. Each one was deserving a Nobel Prize, but there was such a bitter argument in the Nobel Committee that he eventually got the Nobel Prize, the 1921 Nobel Prize, not for his theory of relativity, not for the concept of the photon that he had discovered, but for an explanation of an experiment, that is photoelectric effect. So the greatest mistake of Nobel Committee is not giving the Nobel Prize to, as you know, to Mahatma Gandhi. People like his disciples, like Dalai Lama or Nelson Mandela, they got the Nobel Prize. But Mahatma, he was nominated 6 times. He was nominated 6 times, and the last nomination was in 1948, the year that he was assassin.
Nijoma, I think your audio is getting a bit, can you adjust your headphones a bit? Yeah. And I remember.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are. It's better now. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
We remember, of course, Einstein, his connection to Gandhiji. He was one of the first to say that Gandhi was a saint. You know, that coming generations will hardly...
Generations to come will never realize, will never think that there's such a person as Einstein, as Gandhi ever lived on this earth, ever walked on this earth. That was the famous quotation that Einstein wrote on Gandhi's 70th birthday in 1939. And Professor Mukunda, who is one of the professors at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, he, while celebrating Einstein's Year of Miracles, 1905, in 2005, he said that generations to come will realize that there was a person by the name of Einstein who ever walked on this earth. So there is a similarity between the two. As you correctly say, that Einstein was a tremendous admirer of Gandhi and his ways, the way he got the freedom and things like that, his nonviolent movement and things like that. And he was a pacifist. Einstein was a pacifist. But then he said that pacifism cannot be used for a person like Hitler. So you have to use force. You have to have the force. So this is where he went a little away from Gandhi. But he said that you cannot have a peace demonstration in front of Hitler or something. So these are stories that are fascinating. He had a tremendously complex personality, in my opinion, Einstein. And on one hand, he had this extraordinary compassion. On the other hand, he was oh, you know how he got his divorce? His first wife said that if I accept the divorce, then he will never, he will stop giving us money and things like that. So he kept on trying to get the divorce because he wanted to marry his new girlfriend, who was his cousin, Elsa Einstein. So he wanted to marry her, and who was a divorcee, and his first wife will not give him divorce. Then what happened was that Einstein in 1918 said that I do not know when I will get the Nobel Prize, but I will get the Nobel Prize. And when the Nobel Prize comes, the entire money will be yours, provided you give me the divorce right now. So the entire money, I will give it to you. So his friends, his close friends, Albert Einstein's close friend, negotiated this divorce, had this settlement, and when he got the divorce in 1918 or 17, and he immediately married his cousin Elsa Einstein, who was his second wife. And in 1922, when he got the Nobel Prize, he gave the entire money to his first wife. So he had no attachment for money. That is one thing for sure.
Yeah, but Mejumama, just think of it. You know, it was a woman's foresight. His first wife, knew that he would get the Nobel Prize. And therefore she negotiated
her husband told him. That was her husband told her. That Einstein told her.
Yeah, she accepted.
I do not know when, but I will get the Nobel Prize. When I get the Nobel, when I get the Nobel Prize, I will give the entire money to you, provided you give me the divorce right now. The husband telling the wife.
Let me also now, there are quite a few questions coming in the chat box, Mijoma. So let me weave in a few of those questions into my queries to you. The first one is, somebody is saying that she doesn't agree that teachers are not friends. Let me correct you, Mijoma. Professor Ghatak never said that teachers are not friends. He said that teachers should be friends. And if you are a teacher who is like a friend to your students, excellent. We want millions like you. That's
Yes.
exactly what we want. And let us make humility a fashion. Somebody really likes that idea. Tell me, Majama.
Let me.
Yeah.
I mean, not being very polite, let me also say that I have been very friendly to my students.
Yeah, I know that.
I got the training from America. That I must say. My professors were so kind and nice to me. They would call me for dinner and tea and everything. And I learned this from there. So I want all teachers, whether you are in school or whether you are in college, or whether treat your students like your children. And a professor should also treat with affection the young assistant professor, and the director should treat his faculty with a lot of affection and compassion, and treat them well, motivate them. You cannot scold your child to excel in studies. I repeat, you cannot scold your own child to excel in studies. You have to politely tell him that do well, do better, do the best of your ability. Then only he will excel, he or she will excel. This I have seen myself. So therefore, politeness and humility are two very, very important things in one's own life to be successful and happy. And so therefore, I am not trying to say that our teachers are not polite. No, they are, but many are unpolite. Many are impolite. Many in higher placed jobs are quite impolite. They are very rude. Their arrogance in India has increased exponentially.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry to say that this is my personal experience. Whether you go to any office, government office, or even sometimes in private sectors also, there is too much of arrogance of money, too much of arrogance of power. That should just not there. Or arrogance of knowledge. That is the worst thing that one can have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you know, there's a saying in our circles that it's people say it's easier to meet God than meet the district magistrate or district collector.
Yeah.
You have to have time, and then the saab nahi hai, etc., etc. So we are so arrogant. Anyway,
Yes,
that's something.
yes.
I think that's a thought we leave.
If this academy can teach, and we have to teach ourselves also, teach our children, teach our family members, teach our relations to be polite, to be compassionate, to think that how fortunate we are that where we are in this poor country. And really 30% of, in spite of all the developments that have taken place, 30% of our population is still below the poverty line, and that is a staggering 400 million people. And how can we get rid of that? Only through education, science, and technology, and of course empowerment of women. We just recently celebrated Women's Day.
I was going to ask you that. What about the more girls in science? You know, interestingly, I was. Let me quote you a figure which I saw very recently, that in the normal science graduation and master's courses now in India, there are more girls enrolled than boys. Many more girls than boys overall. And in certain universities, the number of girls enrolled is higher than boys. Now, where are these girls going? Why are we not getting more girls and women as heads of institutions? Maybe that's one way to bring more politeness and less arrogance. Women can be less arrogant. Bhavna, tell me. What
I
do you
agree.
think? Why not more girls in the sciences? Or if they are coming in, why are they not pursuing?
No, actually, there are now, if you go to BSc honors program in physics in Delhi University, there are more girls now in comparison to boys. And there's no doubt about it. And they're very sincere. I have had outstanding women students who did their PhD with me, and very motivated, very dedicated. And and that is coming up in a very big way. That is the greatness of our country, that our young girls are coming in hundreds and thousands, coming to Delhi University to study science or even other subjects. I know only of physics. And I went to one of these colleges near Patel Nagar, and it's a girls' college, and I found that very few of them are from Delhi. They are all from all parts of India, and they have just come to get a degree from Delhi University, and they are struggling through, because they stay in rented accommodation, and you have to find a safe place. That safety of women is also one of the very important things, and we all know in a place like Delhi. But women are coming up in a very big way, competing with young men in science and technology. There is no doubt about it. And ISRO is one of the greatest examples there.
Yeah.
And but the problem with the women is that you see, the marriage and childbirth and this creates a little gap in their activities, and that creates a small amount of problem. But now Department of Science and Technology has evolved a large number of schemes through which even if for 3-4 years or 5 years a woman is not able to be working in science, she can pick it up at a later date. So things are going on, and the government has to put in little more effort and have more women in science. Today we see that all school teachers are mostly women, and one may argue what the reason could be, but we must have
go on.
Only in Scandinavian countries, this is what I've heard, I may be totally wrong, that a teacher is respected most. And this I had found even in Singapore, but not so much in America. Not so much in America. So the younger person would not like to become a teacher or a professor. And unfortunately, the employment opportunities are also have got little disturbed. And but at the same time, if you do manage to, but it's a profession which gives you tremendous satisfaction and fulfillment. And I can say that even at this age, I enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Tell me, somebody is asking a very interesting question, and I think you will love to answer this. That, we are in this age of computer science fixation. Everyone wants to do something related to IT, to computer sciences. Is that in any way decreasing the development in the roots of physics, chemistry, biology? What he means is that in fundamental physics, the fundamental sciences.
Two points. Number one is one always has to find a profession or a career in which he can get a reasonably good compensation. That is very, very important, and with not too much of difficulty. Now, what has happened is the following, that if you want, let us suppose, to take up a research career, then you have 3 years of BSc, 2 years of MSc, 4 years or 4.5 or 5 years of PhD, then postdoctoral fellowship. So it's a very long, drawn-out affair. And even when you are getting a postdoctoral fellow in India or abroad, you are not earning that amount of money. But if you do computer science plus MBA and you are good in finance, then the rising curve is very steep, and you can get a large amount of money in a very short period. And the opportunities are also there. Opportunities are also there.
But is that taking away the good students from the pure sciences?
Of course,
yeah, it is.
Of course, and that is true. That the good students are taken away. During our time, the good students will take up science, Now, now they ask me that what are the opportunities? They see teachers in Delhi University colleges, premier colleges, who are on contract for 3 months. What inspiration can they give to the student? Now in Delhi, this is so tragic that I hope I am wrong. No, I'm not wrong. That for the last 10 years, there has not been any appointment made in Delhi University College, at least in physics. Very few appointments. They are working mainly with the ad hoc teachers. So it works both. It is so disturbing to see the logic. They say that with temporary teachers, you pay them less, no commitment, they will also not reward. So it is good. So they have 3-month contract for 10 years, 15 years. I have met a assistant professor. He said, "Sir, मैं तो 15 साल से ये कर रहा हूँ. I have 2 children. I have a family to support, and one I do not have any freedom. I cannot go out, because if I go out, then coming back will be almost impossible." So it's a very peculiar problem that has come up. And I'm very, very concerned about it. And what will the young man or a young woman see in front of him? That his teachers are temporary, his teachers are good, they are PhDs, and they are working as an ad hoc lecturers for 10 years. What is this? So how they cannot be my role models? You see, it is as simple as that. It is as simple as that.
Yeah. And Apeksha wants to know whether you ever thought of taking up a job in the corporate sector.
It is both ways. No one offered me. I also did not want it.
You didn't want to, yeah. I think that the answer was very clear from what he was saying. Tell me, Bhavna or Ajay, do you have any questions? Because we've reached the end of the hour. I can go on, and I think Vijay
just
can
been
also go
at
on.
6 o'clock. Yes.
Yeah.
So one question.
Yeah.
Sir has talked about a lot on simplicity. Keeping the things simple will make things to grow in more profound manner.
Yes.
So I want to ask, sir, like simplicity is getting more and more complex these days, sir. What exactly is your mantra to keep the things simple?
It is simple. I don't know. If your wants are less, then I quote someone, I don't know who wrote this: the greatest pleasure is contentment with little. You see, it is something like that. So if you are happy with your WagonR, or you are not happy with Mercedes and you want to go something bigger than that. And that is the thing, that I want the younger generation to be happy with a WagonR and not go for the Mercedes or something like that. So I see these ads on TV of diamonds and jewelries in lakhs and crores, and they are setting a wrong. It is going, and there must be a huge market on that. I see front page Hindustan Times or Times of India ads of jewelry, and I see that they are in shops. 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, some designer saris will cost in lakhs and crores. So you can have a sari. I'm not saying that you wear a 50 rupee sari. You have to have
a balance.
You should know where it is enough.
Yeah, you see, you have to, and that will come from your parents and your teachers. That will come from your, and this is the most important thing that the society should realize. One has to respect the teacher. Let us suppose these days, you both husband and wife are going for their work. And where do you send your child, who is the most precious person in your life? Where do you send him? You send him to school. And so therefore, he or she, your child, is getting brainwashed or whatever it is by your teacher. And the teacher has to be treated the best. But it is not happening that way. It is not happening. The society, I mean, I give this example. I give this example at many places, that if you have a daughter and you want to get married, and who will you prefer? And a teacher or a corporate executive selling things which may not be selling whiskey or something like that. You will prefer selling whiskey because that is the corporate sector where there is a lot of money. And I don't know what I would do, but these are very complicated questions. But one thing that I have realized for sure is this: the respect for teachers, the role that the teacher plays in the society. Why there is so much corruption? Corruption one learns only from at home and from school and colleges and from people above you or something like that. So we have to have a system. And what I have heard is, and I am not so sure, Nivedita may tell me more about it, that it is only in Scandinavian countries that the teachers are given the greatest respect in the society. And that means that they must be paid very well. I don't know. Someone, Nivedita, if you can kindly find that out. If this
I only want to mention one fact that, and this was mentioned by Transparency International, that Scandinavian countries may claim that corruption is very low in their country. They are rated as the least corrupt countries. But in India, the country that is synonymous to corruption is Bofors, which is a Swedish company. Okay, they brought large-scale corruption to India. So, I think I leave you to think on that. Vijay, tell me, when you are not reading physics or not talking of physics, you listen to Rabindra Sangeet?
Yes.
Yeah. So, which is your favorite?
Let me tell you my favorite.
Yeah.
Favorite is, why I like Rabindra Sangeet is that it has this simplicity of words conveying the profoundness of the concept.
Yeah.
And some of the words are untranslatable. And I quoted this in I wrote a book on experiments in science, 10 beautiful experiments in science. And I thought that would be my last book. So I wrote, but it is not going to be my last book.
No.
That Rabindranath Tagore says, Bengali is like Hindi. Sarthako jibon janomo amar jonmechi ei deshe. Sarthak, you see, I tried to find an English word for sarthak, and the only word that came close is blessed, that I am blessed to be born in this country. But sarthak is not blessed. So there are words in Bengali and Hindi and Urdu which are almost untranslatable. So the song goes something like that. And I'm not singing. Don't ask me to do that. Sarthako janamo amar jonmechi ei deshe. Sarthako janamo mago tomai bhalobeshe. It's a very profound song. So it transports you to another level, listening to the Rabindra Sangeet. The simplicity of the words and the thoughts that it carries. So I find great pleasure in listening to Rabindra Sangeet.
Reminds me of that other lines, again from Tagore, that Tomar khechi porechi ma, ki ba tomai diyechi ma.
That's a
that song that I have all my life. I have lived off you. Talking about land, motherland, and I have lived off you. I have worn clothes given by you, eaten off you. But what have I given you?
That is true. Even then, you always given me food and shelter and I see my sister Rita somewhere. I saw the name. I hope
she's there. Rita Mashi, are you there? Can we?
No, I don't know.
No. Okay.
Sir, one question for you.
Yes, Ajay.
I liked when you said that you went to Cornell, you studied there, you liked the education there.
Yes.
But you have loved to country brought you back.
Yes.
I see many students from all our prestigious Indian colleges, they go out, but they don't come back. Any line you want to say to them?
Yes. Any? What is the last?
Anything you want to say to them? There are many people who want to come also, but maybe something is stopping them. Anything you want to say?
I don't know, but the love for the country, I put the blame on the parents. My parents taught me to love my country. And I had probably put more emphasis in class with first hour. And love for the country we took for granted. So as I always say, that corruption starts always from the top. Everything starts from the top. So this is my thesis, that put the right person at the top and then give him the full powers and see and make him accountable. So even with the bringing up of the children, the values that are set in with the children, you cannot blame the children. You have to blame the parent. You have not blame. The parents' emphasis or something like that, that is the most important thing. If what I have been able to impart to my children or to what you have been able to. So if your children, if someone's child starts misbehaving, you have to put part responsibility on yourself. So I'm not saying that today we are in a global community. So it does not matter whether you are if I'm in Delhi and your children are in Bombay or New York, they are both accessible. Bombay takes 2 hours, London takes 8 hours. It is just so it's a global community. I say all this because my 2 sons are also abroad. So they have found better opportunities. They are happy there, and they try to do their best for their country, for their parents, for these things. So it's all right. I think it's all right. But what we have seen, and we have been in close touch with families who sacrificed everything for the country. We know families who sacrificed everything for the country. Our children have not seen that. So they cannot get that passion. But I have seen people, I know people whose younger brother or older brother, I know that he got injured or something like that. And my parents, contemporaries, they were affected by the freedom movement. They have seen that. So it will have definitely a greater effect on them and therefore on us. But we have had a very comfortable life, and we tried our children to do well in their studies and things like that, and took freedom for granted.
Yeah.
Freedom for granted.
Yeah.
When I had heard Mahatma Gandhi, India was not free. That was 1946. And it was in Delhi that I heard him. So it had a profound impact on me. So I don't remember what he said, but those were the people surrounding us. And who I have met. He was my father's teacher, Meghnad Saha, Professor Meghnad Saha, a man of tremendous simplicity. Even my professor, D.S. Kothari, tremendous simplicity. So our teachers were all like that, but they would walk from home and things like that. And we are influenced by seeing such people. And then our children or our children's children will see what their parents are doing, their contemporaries are doing.
Yeah.
So it is all bringing up that matters. And we had tremendous respect for our teachers. Is that true today? Probably not. Probably yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know more than
I think let's our teachers listening to us, let them decide. But I have to apologize. I think my bandwidth is a bit dodgy. So I think Ajay or Bhavna, you may need to take over if I lose connection.
No problem.
So I think, shall I conclude it here, or you have any more questions? With your permission, I'll conclude it here. Okay. So thank you, Ajay Mama. It was a pleasure. It was, I never thought when this suggestion came up that you will agree, but thank you so much. A million thanks for agreeing to speak to us and spending the evening with us. It was a learning experience for all of us. And I'm sure we'll continue this further. This conversation will go on further.
It was a great pleasure to spend the afternoon with all of you. I don't know. Whatever came to my mind, I said, you have to decide what is what is correct or not. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Over to you.
it was a wonderful insight experience with you and ma'am, and an amazing discussion, which I actually didn't want it to stop, but the time is not permitting us to move forward. But definitely, we are looking forward to have a more conversations and more learning experience with you. Thank you, ma'am, for conducting it so nicely and having so many beautiful questions with us. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Thank you so much.
Tomorrow I'm giving a talk on Einstein, so I will send Bhavna and Nivedita
Yeah, sure,
and Ajay
sir,
the
please.
link. Those who are interested in physics, I will have a little bit in physics, they can.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
It was
sir.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks everyone for attending. Thank you.
Yes. चाय रह बाकी रह गया एक साथ चाय पीना नहीं हुआ वो कभी कर लेंगे
वो होगा,
Sir,
वो होगा.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ajay Mama.
Thank you, Nivedita ma'am.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.